This video is sponsored by Ultimate Guard, but even long before this channel was sponsored by Ultimate Guard, they were always my #1 choice when it comes to sleeves or deck boxes. Pick up Ultimate Guard products at your local game store or order them on Amazon. Link down below. Welcome once again to Commander by Dana. Today we're looking at one of the most popular commanders out there, Yarok the Desecrated. Also, and I know it's annoying to keep hearing this, but statistically if I don't ask you to like and subscribe, the video gets fewer subscribers. Yarok the Desecrated is a 5-mana 3/5 legendary elemental horror with Death Touch and Lifelink. Yarok makes it so that if a permanent we control is triggered by another permanent entering the battlefield, that permanent triggers an additional time. In other words, Yarok is a panharmonicon on a body, but unlike panharmonicon, which only cares about creatures or artifacts entering, Yarok embraces all permanents, which makes going infinite with him very easy. Don't worry, I'll explain the combos at the end of the video. Also, as a heads up, this will not be a budget video. I've done a lot of budget videos this week, and I know I have a lot of fans on the channel who want higher powered decks and don't care about the price. Either that or they just proxy everything. In order to build a functional commander deck, you need lots of different pieces, which is why I try to rely on my handy-dandy checklist. 50 mana sources, usually split between 37 lands and 13 pieces of ramp, 10 pieces of card advantage, 8 to 10 pieces of spot removal, 2 to 3 board wipes, 2 pieces of graveyard hate, and 1 sudden I win card. Oh, one more quick announcement before we get started. I'm currently streaming with my son over on Musings by Danon as well as Twitch. It'll mostly be Final Fantasy XIV, but you're more than welcome to pop in and talk about Commander. Honestly, about half my streams are talking about manga, anime, or Commander. For lands, we're running Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, Verdant Catacombs, Misty Rainforest, Polluted Delta, Marsh Flats, Wooded Foothills, Flooded Strand, Zagoth Triome, Overgrown Tomb, Breeding Pool, Watery Grave, Undergrowth Stadium, Rejuvenating Springs, Morphic Pool, Deathcap Glade, Dreamroot Cascade, Shipwreck Marsh, Underground Mortuary, Hedge Maze, Undercity Sewers, Golgari Rot Farm, Simic Growth Chamber, Dimir Aqueduct, Bajuka Bog, Field of the Dead, 3 swamps, 4 forests, and 3 islands. Don't worry, we'll talk about the bounce lands here in a bit. For mana ramp, we've got Peregrine Drake, Lotus Cobra, Wood Elves, Solemn Simulacrum, Tireless Provisioner, Clifftop Lookout, Farhaven Elf, Ancient Green Warden, Topiary Stomper, Dryad of the Elysian Grove, Azusa Lost But Seeking, Burgeoning, Exploration, Crucible of Worlds, Conduit of Worlds, Ramanup Excavator, and Soul Ring. Lots of ways to play extra lands per turn, which our bounce lands will help with. Nothing is worse than having an Azusa and a bunch of landfall triggers and no lands in hand. Our card advantage package consists of Eternal Witness, Coiling Oracle, Muldrifter, Tachiova Benthic Druid, Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, Honest Rutstein, Muldrotha the Gravetide, Aesi Tyrant of Gyre Strait, Sire of Stagnation, Fierce Empath, The Great Henge, and Guardian Project. Gotta dig through our deck to find our win cons. For interaction and spot removal, we're running Venser Shaper Savant, Reclamation Sage, Ravenous Chupacabra, Acidic Slime, Hostage Taker, Agent of Treachery, Aether Channeler, Shriekmaw, Urtai Resurrected, Noxious Gearhulk, Foundation Breaker, and Yarok's Fenlurker. Yarok's Fenlurker is hilarious with Yarok, especially if we can flicker it a bunch of times. For board wipes, we're running Massacre Worm and Cyclonic Rift. Again, the idea of flickering Massacre Worm is both mean and funny to me. The core of our deck consists of Deadeye Navigator, Shrieking Drake, Mana War, Iridescent Vine Lasher, Avenger of Zendikar, Scute Swarm, Rampaging Baloths, Kodama of the East Tree, Obnixilis the Fallen, and Craterhoof Behemoth. Gotta close out the game somehow. Supporting our plan, we've got Ghostly Flicker, Panharmonicon, Virtue of Knowledge, Thassa Deep Dwelling, Spark Double, Lightning Greaves, Swiftfoot Boots, Conjurer's Closet, and Helm of the Host. These help to double up our commander's ability to double enter the battlefield triggers. Now that we have our deck list, let's compare it to our checklist. 53 mana sources split between 36 lands and 17 pieces of ramp. A little high, but we're a landfall deck, so we need the extra ramp. 12 pieces of card advantage, 12 pieces of interaction, 2 board wipes, 1 piece of graveyard hate in Bojuka Bog, no sudden I win cards, but lots of game-ending combos. Let's discuss a few of them, shall we? The first one is Ghostly Flicker with Peregrine Drake and Eternal Witness. We tap 5 lands, flickering both Peregrine Drake and Eternal Witness by casting Ghostly Flicker. Both of them re-enter the battlefield, and we put their enters triggers on the stack. We resolve Eternal Witness's trigger first, returning Ghostly Flicker to our hand. We then resolve Peregrine Drake's trigger, untapping 5 lands. We now have 2 mana floating and can repeat this combo an infinite number of times, generating us infinite mana. This combo also works with Peregrine Drake being soul bonded to Deadeye Navigator. Next up, we have Peregrine Drake combined with Venser, Shaper Savant, and Yarok. Yarok must be on the battlefield for this to work. We cast Peregrine Drake, untapping the 5 lands we used to cast it twice due to Yarok. In between the untap triggers, we tap the lands again for mana, netting us a total of 10 floating mana. We use 4 of that mana to cast Venser. Venser triggers twice, and we return the Peregrine Drake and Venser to our hands. We still have 6 mana in our mana pool and use 5 of it to cast Peregrine Drake, starting the whole combo off again, netting us 1 mana every time we go through the loop. Of course, there's always the combo of Kodama of the East Tree with Scute Swarm and Simic Growth Chamber. We play Simic Growth Chamber and target itself with its own enters trigger. But Simic Growth Chamber entering triggers both Scute Swarm and Kodama of the East Tree. We create an insect token, or a copy of Scute Swarm depending on the number of lands we control, and choose to ignore Kodama's initial trigger. Kodama of the East Tree triggers again due to the generation of a creature from Scute Swarm, and we can then put a permanent from our hand onto the battlefield. Oh look! Simic Growth Chamber is in our hand. Let's play that and perform this loop over and over again. Of course, this also works with Rampaging Baloths and the 2 other bounce lands we have in the deck. Now, I mentioned I was going to talk about the bounce lands. I'm doing so now. Bounce lands, even without extra shenanigans, are great Magic cards. I want you to ask yourself this. If there were a series of mana rocks that cost 1 mana, tapped for 2 specific colors of mana, but they came into play tapped, would you run them? Of course you would. Outside of green, of course, but those rocks would be in just about every non-CEDH deck out there. So why all the hate on bounce lands? Now, you may be wondering why we're running bounce lands in this deck, what with all the extra enter the battlefield trigger doublers. If Yarok is on board and we play Golgari Rot Farm, we have to bounce 2 lands instead of 1, which gives us 2 more lands in hand that we can play. Remember all the play additional lands effects we have in the deck? So, bouncing a couple of lands, especially lands that come into play untapped, ramps us. We are also a landfall deck, so we can trigger even more of our effects every turn. With Azusa Lost But Seeking, Yarok, and Obnixilis the Fallen on board, we play 1 bounce land, return the other 2 lands to our hand, then replay them. Obnixilis triggers 6 times. Each land is a double trigger due to Yarok. so we just drained one of our opponents out for 18 life. Not bad for a single land. Yes, I know this deck is mean. Yarok the Desecrated is one of the scarier commanders out there. People won't assume you have a nice deck and will target you. So be forewarned. The only time you'll be left alone is if there's an even scarier commander out there. Do you have a Yarok the Desecrated commander deck? If not, who is your scary commander? Leave a comment below. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor Cutestuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, she can be reached at cutestuff.edits@gmail.com. Link is down below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Danon. You can have a video made or just ask for help building or tuning a deck list. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons: Waffles, Jiraiya, Danny, Muffins, Marcus, Brett, Roxy, Alix, Borgie, Naswin, Conga, Aaron, Chris, Robert, Austin, William Pye, Kazaris, Booksu, Patrick, Travis, Nappy, Sean, and Michael. You guys are awesome. I post new Commander Deck videos every weekday, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of new videos. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Commander by Danon.